we will send out a recording of the webinar. It'll also be uploaded to the Convirza YouTube channel. So you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll get an update once that's uploaded. So you don't need to take screenshots or anything like that. We'll send you out a copy of the recording so that you have that if you want to review anything that we've covered today, or if you have to leave early or something like that. As a brief introduction to Convirza for those the first time attending, Convirza, we're a marketing technology company. We specialize in call tracking software, so we work with advertisers and marketers that are looking to track how many inbound calls are coming from their campaigns that they're running. So the reason we host these webinars is to provide our audience and customers with this new, fresh information on different various topics in the marketing space, and hope to provide value to you guys that way. If you have questions for me at Convirza, or like to follow up, have us follow up with you, like I said, just submit a question and we'll make sure that we do that. As an introduction to Phil and kind of his background, so Phil's the CEO and founder of Main Street ROI. He's kind of an expert in online advertising, marketing analytics, sales funnel optimization. He's been published and featured in Forbes, Inc., MSN, along with other various outlets. Phil's an avid barefoot runner, so I don't know if I've ever done that, but he's into barefoot running, and he lives in Manhattan with his wife and 2 children. So with that introduction, I'll hand over the controls to Phil, and he'll proceed with the presentation. Thanks everyone for attending.
All right, thank you. And thanks Convirza for hosting this. So today we're going to cover Google Analytics made simple, how to measure your return on investment. All right, some housekeeping, which we already got out of the way. Feel free to post questions, and I always recommend you turn off distractions like email, and definitely close out of Facebook. You'll just get the most out of these presentations if you're not also trying to check email and try to scroll through your news feed. All right, here's our agenda. I'll cover why metrics matter, why I recommend Google Analytics specifically, how to set up Google Analytics, and then once it's set up, how to report on your key metrics. And then at the end, we'll have live Q&A. We already got an introduction, but again, my name's Phil Frost. I should have edited this slide. It's actually over 10 years now experience in digital marketing. Started in early 2006. And I am a self-proclaimed data geek. I actually studied engineering in college. Did not pursue a career in engineering, but that was what I found interesting. I like data, I like Excel spreadsheets, believe it or not. But I also understand most people do not. So really the goal today is to simplify Google Analytics so you don't have to be doing any advanced Excel spreadsheet work. You can just get the account set up correctly, and then make sure you're looking at the correct data in your account. And my thought leadership has been featured in Forbes, Inc., Amex, as well as Mashable. This is my favorite slide. This is my beautiful family. Got Violet on the left. She's almost 4 years old. She'll be 4 in January. That's my chubby son, Emmett, in the middle. This was taken on his first birthday, but he is now 1.5 years old. And that's my beautiful wife, Erin. This was at my son's birthday. You can see behind us the beer menu. This was at a beer garden in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. All right, let's dive in. So why do metrics matter? The way I like to look at Google Analytics, it's similar to a marketing report card. And I just showed you picture of my kids. They both go to daycare, and it's crazy. I don't think they had this when I was growing up, but they have report cards for kids, year and a half year old and a 3-year-old, and they do get report cards. It basically just says how they're progressing and whether they're hitting key milestones at the correct time. And I find that extremely valuable if I can see that Violet needs to work on X, Y, and Z to get a little bit better and progress, or maybe she's excelling in another area. I don't have to worry about that. And the same thing is true with your digital marketing. You need to have some kind of report card to be able to say, okay, this campaign is working great. I don't really need to be messing with that, but these other campaigns are not doing so well. I need to improve there, and this campaign is just tanking. I need to stop investing in that and reallocate the budget. So think of your Google Analytics account like a report card that you used to get as a kid. And the goal is to really find your superstar marketing channels. The analogy here is with baseball. We've got the World Series going on right now, and anyone that's a Cubs or an Indians fan knows all of the stats. They know, their favorite pitcher, their favorite fielder, and their batting averages. They know how they perform at home versus away. You really need to take that same mindset and apply that to your marketing so that you know all of the key metrics for each of your different marketing campaigns. And finally, it's important to realize that traffic alone is not really the key metric, because traffic does not equal sales. It does not equal leads for your business. It's very possible to get a lot of traffic from a particular source, and it's essentially worthless for your business. So don't just track traffic. We'll talk later about how to track leads and sales, but that's a critical takeaway. A lot of businesses get caught up in just looking at how much traffic they're getting, and that's really not even half of the story. You need to be focused more on the leads and sales you're getting from the different traffic sources. All right, why use Google Analytics? There are lots of other web analytics platforms out there. First point here is that Google Analytics is free. Who doesn't love free? That alone is a reason to use it, but it is a powerful tool. Just don't get confused. It's not free and doesn't do a good job. It's free and is actually one of the most powerful web analytics platforms. But it also works well with others. And by that, I mean just right out of the box, as long as you set it up correctly, it will integrate with other tools that you might be using, like Google AdWords. It integrates and tracks the Google AdWords traffic. It can also integrate with Google Search Console, which is a tool that you would be familiar with if you're doing any type of SEO. So it integrates nicely with other programs. It's also not going anywhere, and I think that's important to note. There's lots of new companies popping up all over the place, and there might be a new one starting today that has a great web analytics platform, and it might even have a couple bells and whistles that are better than Google Analytics. But if that company is not around next year or even 5 years from now, when that happens, you're going to lose all of that data that you've collected. So it's important to make sure you're putting your data somewhere where you'll be able to analyze it for years to come. Okay, so now let's dive into the 4 steps to set up a Google Analytics account. And I find that a lot of businesses skip over these steps. They'll maybe complete one of them and then move on to the reporting section, which we'll talk about later. But you really need to go through all of these steps, or else Google Analytics is not going to report correctly for you. The first step here is to add the code to every single page. And that might sound obvious to some, but this is actually a common mistake. Businesses don't get the code on every single page. And when that is the case, Google Analytics will only track the pages that have the code. So the very first step is to go to google.com/analytics, and you can create a free account. Should really only take about 5 minutes to complete that form. So you'll create an account, and then you're going to copy and paste the tracking code onto every single page on your site. So what does that code look like? It'll look like this. You don't have to know what the heck this code does. I don't even know what all that is doing there. It's called JavaScript code. All you need to be able to do is highlight that code and then copy it on a PC, Control-C, and then paste it, Control-V, and again, put that on every single page. Now, if you have a content management system like WordPress, you'll probably have a header file like header.php, and if you put the code in that one file, it'll actually get applied across your entire site. So this is something that gets a little bit technical, and if you have a web developer, I highly recommend you just send this code to your developer and say, hey, add this to every page on the site. But it's a super fast and super easy task to get that done. Okay, next step here is to set up the goals. So I mentioned earlier, traffic does not equal sales. So you need to be tracking sales in your Google Analytics account. And the way you do that is by setting up goals or conversions in Google Analytics. So you might be wondering, what is a website conversion, or what is a goal in Analytics? That could be an online sale, and that's what you'll be tracking if you have some kind of shopping cart on your site. You can track contact form submissions. If you have a contact us form, you might have a free report that you offer on your site. You'd want to track that. And you can even track phone calls in Google Analytics and see the number of phone calls. Now, there are different types of goals that you can set up in Google Analytics. And the one I'll focus on today is called a destination goal. And the way it works is you tell Google Analytics, when someone makes it to a certain page, I want to count that as a conversion or count that as reaching a goal. And the way to think about it is with forms on your site, typically when you complete that form, you get redirected to a thank you page that says thanks for completing the form. That is the destination that you want to track, because the only way people made it to that page is because they completed the form on the previous page. And here's a slide that shows you all the steps to set up a goal or a destination goal. And you can see over on the left, or sorry, at the top there is the navigation, and there's 3 links: reporting, customization, admin. You want to click on admin, and that shoots you into the admin area of your analytics account. And then you want to click on goals, and that'll be in the far right column. There'll be 3 columns in the admin section. In the far right column, you'll see goals as an option. You just click on that, and then you want to select a destination goal. That's the goal type. Give it a name. In this case, I named it Analytics Checklist Request, and that's because we on our site we have a Google Analytics checklist that we offer on our site. And when you complete that form, you go to a page that has this URL. It says Google-Analytics-Checklist-Thank-U. That is the URL that you get redirected to after you complete the form to get the analytics checklist on our website. So that is the destination that we want to track, because anyone that makes it to that page has completed the form. Then there's this optional section. You don't have to worry about this, but if you do want to set up a funnel, this is good for if you have multiple stages in a checkout process, for example, for an online checkout process, you could create a funnel for each page in the checkout. In this case, I just wanted to show you, you just click it, it turns it on, and I created one step, which is the actual offer page, so analytics checklist offer page, and that URL is Google-Analytics-checklist. So again, that's the page where people go to. It has a form where they can request the checklist, and then they complete that form, and they go to the thank you page. So it's really just a two-step funnel here. You'd see the next step in this process is to verify the goal, and that just will double check that you inputted everything correctly. And then finally, you'll click Save. And you need to repeat this process for every single form that you want to track on your site. Okay, so that takes care of the goal tracking. Next, there is a third step here, and this is definitely a step that I see skipped in a lot of accounts. And this is to use what's called the URL builder to track your different marketing campaigns. And the reality is, Google Analytics does a really good job, excuse me, automatically tracking where the traffic came from. Excuse me. For example, let's say someone clicked on a link in Facebook and went to your website. Analytics knows that Facebook is social media traffic, and they automatically label that as traffic from social media. So Google, by default, Google Analytics does a good job, but it's not perfect. And there's some things that Analytics it's impossible for them to know where the traffic came from. And when that's the case, you need to use this tool called the URL builder. And rather than writing down this ridiculously long URL, I recommend you just go to Google and search for URL builder, and it should be the first result there. You click on that, and it will bring you to a form that you fill out. And it's a straightforward form. It asks you what is the URL of the page that you want to track. For advertising, that would be the landing page, the page that you're advertising to. If it's an email campaign, it's whatever landing page you're using for that email campaign. So you put that URL into URL Builder, and then you define some of the variables that I'll show you on the next slide. And once you do that and you generate the URL, you can then use that URL in your campaigns, and that tells Google Analytics exactly where the traffic came from. Now, don't worry if this doesn't make sense yet. This slide should clarify it. On the form in URL Builder, you'll define the source, and that's the UTM source, and that is the source of the website traffic. So that could be, for example, your email newsletter. It could be Facebook advertising, in which case Facebook is the source. Then you define what's called the medium, or the UTM medium. That is the type of website traffic. If it's your email newsletter, the type of traffic is email. That's email traffic. If it's Facebook advertising, you can use CPC, which is cost per click, and that tells Google Analytics, whenever it sees that the medium is CPC, it will automatically know, hey, this is paid traffic versus organic traffic. And then you also want to define the campaign, so that's UTM campaign, and these are just fields in the URL Builder form, and you would just tell Google Analytics exactly the name of whatever campaign you're running. It might be a 50% off coupon, buy one, get two free, whatever, maybe it's a Halloween special or a Thanksgiving sale, whatever you want to use as the name, so that when you go into Google Analytics, it's obvious to you what that campaign actually was, and it will make sense when you start running reports. And as you can imagine, these fields that you're filling in are going to match in your Google Analytics reports. And you'll see this soon. I'll show you some real reports, and Google Analytics will report on the source of traffic. You can slice and dice by the medium, so you can look at all of your, let's say, source is Google, so all of your Google traffic that is organic. So that would be free traffic, not paid, but you could also have organic traffic that's paid from Google AdWords, in which case the medium would be CPC, like I said before. Okay, so that's step 3, using the URL builder. That's really important for tracking different ad campaigns, and really important for email campaigns as well, because when certain people receive emails, depending on their email client, when they click on a link, it might open a brand new browser. And when that happens, it looks like direct traffic to your website. So if you're not using the URL builder to specify that that's email traffic, Google Analytics will miscategorize your email traffic as direct traffic. So that's the problem we want to avoid. Okay, step 4 is really only important for e-commerce websites, but if you do have any type of e-commerce element, it is critical to set up e-commerce tracking. It will allow you to show the revenue that you're generating, and it's really important because you'll see revenue per marketing channel or per source of traffic. So for example, you might want to report on all of the revenue you're generating from email campaigns, or all of the revenue you're generating from your Facebook ads, or from Google AdWords ads, or from your SEO traffic. So you can't do that unless you set up e-commerce tracking. It's more robust than that. It's not just revenue. It actually shows you the number of, they call them transactions, or number of sales, and you can actually see what was purchased in each of those transactions. So you can get pretty nitty-gritty in terms of what types of products are being purchased from different sources of traffic. Now the best way to find this is to, again, just go to Google and Google Ecommerce Analytics, or you have to write down this super long URL. So it's the way I do it. I go to Google Ecommerce Analytics, and I click on that link, and that gets, I will warn you, it gets a little bit technical in terms of how to set this up. And for a lot of e-commerce platforms, for example, BigCommerce, they will have directions specifically for that platform for how to set this up. And some platforms even have just a checkbox for turning it on. So it can be as simple as just checking a box to toggle it on. In other cases, you'll have to do a little bit of coding, or just have your web developer read that guide, which is the link I'm showing you here. And for an experienced developer, it's really not complicated at all. It's pretty straightforward. All right, so at this point, if you've gone through those 4 steps, your Google Analytics is now set up. And next I want to transition to which metrics are important. So once you have your account set up, that's really just a one-time thing, except for the URL builder. You would want to track all of your marketing campaigns on an ongoing basis. But a lot of those steps that I went through are just, set it up once and you're good to go. And then on a consistent basis, you need to be reviewing the data in your account. And a key takeaway that I hope everyone remembers is this concept of aggregate data versus channel metrics. And I highly recommend you just avoid completely looking at aggregate metrics. They really do not help you with your marketing. And I'll give you some examples here. Here are 3 examples. All monthly website traffic really doesn't tell you anything about how I mean, sure, it tells you how your overall marketing is performing, but it doesn't really tell you what's working and what's not working and where you should invest to drive more leads and sales. All monthly traffic is an aggregate metric. You don't want to look at that. You want to look at traffic per marketing channel. So how much SEO traffic are you getting? How much Google AdWords traffic, Facebook ads, or social media organic traffic? That actually tells you what's going on for those different marketing channels that you're likely investing in. Another aggregate data is average website bounce rates. That's a frequently asked question. What's a good bounce rate? And it's really a trick question that nobody can answer because it really depends on what that source of traffic is. Different sources of traffic are going to have different bounce rates. It's also going to vary by keyword organically. Certain organic keywords are going to have higher bounce rates than other keywords. So that just looking at the overall bounce rate doesn't really help you. And then finally, average time on site. All 3 of these metrics are displayed as soon as you log into Google Analytics. And it's unfortunate because I find a lot of businesses will just look at those and then try to make decisions about their marketing just on these aggregate metrics. But as you'll see, you really need to take it a step further and dig in to the data a little bit more. So the alternative, rather than aggregate data, is to look at channel-specific data or channel metrics. And here are some examples. You could look at organic search traffic trends over time, and I'll show you that report. That will show you, how much traffic you're getting from organic search, which is your SEO traffic, and you want to look at trends over time. So is that going up, which is good, or is it going down, and that's bad, or maybe you have some spikes and dips, and that can indicate either changes in the algorithm or potential penalties if you see a big dip. Another channel metric would be paid search traffic conversion rates. So looking specifically, so not just at your overall website conversion rate, that really doesn't tell you anything. You want to narrow in on just the paid search traffic and see how that is converting, and also look at that over time because it's possible you've made some website edits and that has caused your conversion rates to go up or down. Referral traffic. I mentioned before, you don't want to just look at aggregate bounce rates. That doesn't tell you anything, but looking at referral traffic and referral website specific bounce rates over time can be helpful. And then looking at conversions per marketing channel. So not just your overall conversions and is that going up or down. That is certainly a nice metric to monitor, and you want to see conversions going up over time, but it doesn't tell you what's working across all of your different marketing. So here's an example problem. Let's say over time you see that your bounce rate has increased from 20% to 50% month over month. And the question here is, what the heck happened? And you can't answer that unless you dig into the channel metrics. So you want to look at, did the bounce rate increase for every single marketing channel? That's probably, that would be the case if you maybe did a website redesign, and for whatever reason, that new design is causing people to bounce. So that could be the case. Or you might find that just one channel in particular has completely spiked in terms of bounce rate, and is like 90% bounce rate, and that's skewing the aggregate bounce rate. And then you could also dig in, not just at the channel level, you can also dig in per channel, per device. So as you can see, it's kind of like peeling an onion. You can get more and more specific. You can just narrow in on a specific channel, and then you could also look at that per device. And it might be the case, especially now with so much mobile traffic increasing. That's just a global trend. More and more people are using mobile devices to access Google and then ultimately access your website. And it could be that your bounce rate has actually increased because a particular device is now being used and your website is not optimized for that device. So again, the answers are going to be found within the channel reports. So there's 3 steps that I'm going to walk through to key insights into your Google Analytics account. And again, I tried to simplify this. I know everyone online most likely does not love data, and you don't want to be staring at reports all day. So if you don't have a lot of time and you're not particularly excited about reading reports, then these are really the 3 steps I would recommend. The first one is a high-level overview of your marketing. You want to look at the top marketing channels by traffic, top marketing channels by behavior, and top marketing channels by conversion. And I'm going to show you these in just a minute. I would also review the trends in each marketing channel. So that's reporting and looking at the graph over time, over either the past quarter, past 6 months, year, 2 years, 5 years. And then we'll also look at the top landing page performance so that you can see what are your most important landing pages. Basically, where will you get the biggest bang for your buck if you are to make improvements to your website. You want to focus on these pages. So here's the first report, the channels report. So why use this? It's going to be the overview of your marketing channels. This is really the home base in Google Analytics. This is the first report I always navigate to. And you go to acquisition, all traffic, and then channels. And the advanced tactic here, we already covered this. You want to use the URL builder to improve the accuracy of your channels report. If, again, you don't use the URL builder, it's possible analytics will be miscategorizing some of your traffic, and it will skew your data. So here's an example screenshot. You can see the red arrow pointing to channels. And when you're in the reporting for Google Analytics, there's a section called acquisition. And within acquisition, you go to all channels, and then, all traffic. And then within all traffic, you click on channels. And then below, so this is what you'll see. You'll see a graph at the top. And then below the graph is a table like this. And you can see I'm just sorting by traffic. And for this example, the most traffic is coming from paid search. Then we have other, which is unfortunately, that means it's not being categorized correctly. Then we've got referral traffic, email traffic, organic search or SEO, direct. I mentioned this before, when somebody comes directly to your site, there's lots of different ways that can happen, and if you're not using URL Builder, you'll have a lot of direct traffic that's not really direct. It's not really people going straight to your site. It's possible that they are clicking links, maybe in email, and those links are opening new browsers, and that's looking like direct traffic. So you can see the first section here. You've got your marketing channels on the left, and then you can see how much traffic you're getting from them. Then in the middle, you have the behavior stats, and that's where you can see your bounce rates pages per visit, and then average time per visit. So that's how long they're on the site, from these sources. And then this right-hand section here is where you can see the conversions. And if you have e-commerce analytics set up, you can show the e-commerce data, which again is going to show you revenue, number of transactions, which are the sales, and then the conversion rate. This is a great example. You can see the aggregate conversion rate, 0.56%. You might be thinking, oh, that's terrible, or that's good if it was worse before. But when you start digging in, you can see email is more than double. It's 1.27%. So that's looking really good for the email traffic. But this other advertising is bringing the average down, 0.02%. Social media has got 0%. So you can see the actual conversion rate per channel varies from 0% up to 1.27%. And if all you did was look at this average across your site, that's not really telling you the full picture of what's going on per campaign. All right, next we want to use the channels graphs. And this is going to show you the trends over time. I mentioned this before. You can see your SEO traffic over time, whether it's going up or down. And you can run this by going to acquisition, all traffic channels, so the same place we were at, but then you want to click on a particular channel. So you're going to drill down a little bit deeper and look at that specific channel. And the advanced tactic here is you can actually compare two metrics to get more insight into what's going on. So here's an example. If you remember the previous chart, there was the most traffic was coming from paid search. So all I did here was click on that channel, paid search, and you can see at the top it's saying we're looking at the channels, and then it's saying it's the paid search channel. And then if you look just above the graph, you'll see sessions, which are visits, versus e-commerce conversion rate. So that's the second metric. So I'm just looking at the traffic from paid search and the conversion rate, sales conversion rate from paid search. And you should be able to find a pretty glaringly obvious problem right around January. You can see the traffic spikes up and the conversion rate plummets down. So clearly there's a problem there, and that's what's great about looking at the trends over time. You can isolate issues like this where you get a spike in traffic. Clearly it wasn't the right traffic, so we'd want to dig in even further into the ad campaign and just see what happened at that time, and make sure either we're sending the wrong traffic or maybe there was an edit to the website that hurt conversion rates at that time. Here's another example showing the display channel. So those are display ads or banner ads, and this is sessions versus bounce rate. And you can see the traffic here in darker blue, and then in the lighter blue we've got the bounce rate. And for some reason the bounce rate is steadily going up, up, and up. So clearly there's a problem there where for this particular channel probably not matching the message on the landing page to the traffic that we're getting. So there's probably a mismatch there where people maybe we're promising something in the ad and then they're coming to the site and not actually finding what we're promising. All right, the third report here is the top landing pages by channel. And the goal here is to find and improve the top pages. You might just be, if you just look at your website, you might think you know what are the most important pages that you need to be focused on and optimizing. This report will actually isolate those for you, so it's not a guessing game. And you'll go to behavior, site content, then landing pages. And the advanced tactic here is adding a segment. And that's actually a really cool tool that you can use in analytics. So here on the left, got that big red arrow showing you landing pages, and that's underneath. So you'd click on behavior, site content, and then landing pages, and that will show you this report. And then you want to click on this button here that says Add Segment. And you'll see a screen just like this. And in this example, I'm clicking on organic traffic and paid traffic. And as you probably guessed, what that does is it shows you data for those channels. So you can see this table now. So I blurred out the landing pages. That's what those blurs are. So number one is a URL. So that's the page that gets the most visits. And you can see the traffic there is coming from organic traffic. So this is showing you which marketing channel is driving the traffic to your top landing pages. If it's just showing this /, that's your home page. And from here, you get data specifically for traffic to that particular page and from this type of traffic. So you can, again, go through the visits. You can go through the behavior, so bounce rates, average number of pages per visit, and average time on site. And you also get the conversion data for the landing page, per marketing channel. All right, so we went through a lot there. I'll go through the recap. We talked about adding the Google Analytics code to every single page. Then we talked about setting up destination goals so that you can track your conversions. Then we talked about using the URL builder to specifically track all of your marketing channels and tell analytics exactly where your traffic is coming from. Then you want to add e-commerce analytics if you have an e-commerce website. And then in terms of reporting, you want to review your channels report. That's really your home base. Look at trends for each marketing channel. And then take a look at your top landing page performance, and you can segment that by the different channels. Now, I do have a gift for everyone that attended. And it's a special Google Analytics bundle, and it's 2 training courses. The first training course is Introduction to Google Analytics. Goes into more detail with live demos, going into everything involved with getting set up, as well as reporting. Then I have another course, which is Introduction to SEO Analytics, which is specifically geared towards reviewing the key metrics for optimizing your website for search engines. You can see both of those courses are sold on our site for $97. And we're also going to do a Google Analytics audit, and you get a 30-minute consultation, and that's sold on our site for $300. So you can see the total value there is $494. But for attendees, you can get it for only $97 if you use this URL. That's mainstreetroi.com/analytics. And with that, we'll open up to Q&A.
All right. Thanks, Phil. Appreciate it. All right. Well, let me start. The first question I had in is, how is revenue calculated in the channel report?
The only way that's going to get tracked is if you have e-commerce analytics set up so that all of the revenue that's generated on your site is getting pushed into your Google Analytics account. That's for an e-commerce website. You can actually set up revenue for goals. So if you, let's say, when someone requests a demo, on average, that's worth $50 because you convert X amount of those into actual clients. You could set up a goal and set that value to $50, and then anytime someone reaches that goal, analytics will track that as a $50 revenue for that goal. So you could set it up that way, and that'll get the revenue in analytics, or you can have, if you have an e-commerce website and you set up e-commerce analytics, that will automatically track it, and that's dynamic. So depending on what they purchase, they might purchase 5 different products, and it adds up to $495. That'll get tracked, but another sale only has 2 products for $15. That would get tracked dynamically, and it adds it all up in the report.
Nice. Okay. Next question is, if I haven't set up goals yet, but were to go set them up now, would we only be able to see goals from now forward, or could GA backlog that information?
That's a great question, and that's why I highly recommend everyone set up goals right at the start, because it's not retroactive. Unfortunately, if you did not have goals set up and you didn't have e-commerce analytics set up, there's just no way for Google to know that those goals were triggered. I guess in theory, they should be able to know and go back, but that's just not the way it works. You have to have that goal set up, and then from that point forward, that'll start tracking.
Great. Next question I have is, if you have one thank you page for all your forms, how you track from which link this conversion is coming from?
That's another great question. And you could have different, depending on how many different forms you've got on your site, you could, let's say you have 5 different forms, they all go to the same thank you page. You could set up 5 different goals and have the funnel set up that I showed you earlier. And the funnel would be, you'd make sure that first page is the form page, and you would, there's a checkbox that says, only track if they make it to this page, and you'd want to make sure that is checked. So you're only tracking traffic if they go to a certain form and then make it to that generic thank you page.
All right. Thanks for that. Next question is there a way to track what the start point was for a conversion? In other words, they're running a Facebook ad, then a week later or 2, the same user went to Google and did the company search and converted. How would I know that the Facebook really led to the conversion? So kind of the question about visitor level tracking.
Yeah, so that's another good question. That gets into attribution. That's a pretty hot topic. There's lots of different, they're called attribution models. So I believe the question is, if somebody clicks on a Facebook ad, makes it to your site, and then leaves, and then the next day Google's your name, the business name, comes through Google search and, let's say, makes a purchase or completes a goal, how do you know did it come from Facebook? So that gets into attribution, and by default, Google Analytics uses what's called last click attribution, which means whatever the last action was, by default, Google Analytics will use that as the source. So in my example, they clicked on a Facebook ad, went to your site, left, Googled your name, clicked on the organic listing, and then converted. The last click was the organic search. So that would get, the conversion would by default be categorized by organic search. But there are sections in Google Analytics that let you toggle and play around with different attribution models. And you could play with first click. In my example there, the first click was the Facebook ad, and Google Analytics would then show you that particular conversion came from, in terms of first click attribution, Facebook. So it gets a little bit more advanced.
Yeah.
It's definitely an advanced topic of attribution.
Yeah, for sure. And if anyone out there that's doing call tracking and has that problem, Convirza has a solution for that, so you're able to see the complete visitor level. So if anyone wants that, you can email me about that, but we'll move on. Let's see, next question is with e-commerce for WordPress site using WooCommerce, do I still need to set up e-commerce tracking?
So I haven't personally used WooCommerce, so I don't know if they have a switch to toggle on and off. So I mentioned some of those platforms, it's as easy as just turning it on and maybe putting in your account number for Google Analytics. That might be the case. If it's not, most platforms don't have that on by default, and there's no way for it to know what your particular Google Analytics account number is. So at a minimum, you'll have to tell it what your analytics account number is, and you'll likely have to turn it on somehow. If that's not an option, then you would have to manually add the code to your thank you page.
All right. Next question is, let's see, is there a specific time on site metric you look for, or does it depend?
So it definitely depends. You might be sending people to a squeeze page just to get their email address, and it's just a no-brainer page where they enter their email, and then they go to the next page, and it's basically a dead end. So they're only on your site for a very short period of time, or you might have a more robust sales process where they need to kind of go from one page to then another page, and they're ultimately going to request a demo and convert. So it depends on what you're offering and how many pages and how long it takes for them to get educated for the sale. Another example would be if you're using video. You might have a 5-minute video that they have to watch, in which case they're going to be on your site much longer. So it depends on that. Also depends on the source of the traffic, like we talked about before. Certain sources of traffic are going to have higher time on site. They're just going to be more engaged. That's typically the warmer traffic, like referral traffic. They're going to have typically lower bounce rates and higher time on site versus cold traffic that you're advertising, like Google AdWords search or display.
Nice. Okay. Next question I had here is there any list to work off of when trying to determine how to name a source or medium when trying to track links?
Yeah, Google, the URL builder, if you go to that page, they actually give you some tips. They'll say, in the medium field, they have I think a parentheses, and they say email, CPC. You could even have offline tracking like TV, radio, print, direct mail. The key takeaway here is you can really label whatever you want or use whatever labels you want as long as you're consistent. So if you do have a lot of different marketing going on, then you'll probably want to create a spreadsheet of all of your different mediums and all of your different campaign names, and that'll be helpful when you want to dig into analytics and actually run reports per marketing campaign.
Got it. Okay. I think I got time for one more question. One here is, can you track the number of downloads of a PDF? Looks like a white paper download.
Yes, and I'm assuming you mean if it's just a link on the site. So what we were talking about was tracking the forms, and you could obviously make it so that people have to complete a form to then get to the PDF. And then the way I would do that is you would have a form, they complete it, they go to the thank you page, and then that page links to the PDF, and that thank you page would be the goal. If you don't want to do that, and there are many reasons why you might not want to have a form in front of it, if you just want to have a link, you can track people clicking on links, and you would use it's JavaScript code on the link in the HTML called an onClick, and you just have your developer look into how to track. They can use events for analytics, and that's again a little bit more advanced when you start using event tracking, and you can also trigger goals using onClick.
All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps up our time for today. I know there's a lot of questions that were asked that I wasn't able to get there, but a lot of those had reference to getting the slide deck or recording. So as a reminder for those who came in late, we will be sending out a recording of the webinar, so you'll have that so you can review that if you came in late or missed something or just have something to review. And if you have specific questions for Phil or Main Street ROI, you can go to their website and contact them directly. So Phil, we really appreciate all your time and the presentation. It was really well attended and had a lot of interaction, so we appreciate everyone attending. And please look for the recording that's coming out. Convirza will reach out to you if you have attended and make sure that you get the recording and get everything that you need. So be expecting an email and a phone call from us. And until next week, we'll see everyone then. Thanks a lot, Phil.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.